Anoche tengo que revisar qué más cosas se pueden pedir. Hay mucha cosa ahí. Ah, pero falta.
Hello planet, dear world, everyone, dear Mozhans, dear people of the universe. Tonight we gather once anew, tonight for the fourth time in a row, to basically discover ourselves more and more in depth. We are actually in midst of the ocean. It is for us here on the computer screen week number 4, but in the water it's hard to tell what time it is. At least we saw one night that we remember. So the sun came twice. We have seen the white of the day, the black of the night. And our two best friends, the sun and the water. Sometimes we love them, sometimes we hate them. It seems like they have mixed personalities. Sometimes they are very enlightening, showing us things. Sometimes is the sun very dense and intense, so we are literally burning, and the salt of on our skin is crumbling up. It feels a bit itchy to be so long in the ocean. And yet there is nowhere else to go. We faced a lot of hours With many of our deepest fears, we saw people drowning. Some got caught by another fish. Some fell into parts. Some just sunk in one piece. But somehow we are still here. We're still afloat on the surface. And it seems like there is something or someone waving in the very far distance. We can't see if it is really a hand or if it is what color it has, what shape it could be. And yet we can definitely hear a very deep rumbling, everything around us. And so if we look the other direction, we see just water even higher. It seems like the waves are again as deep as the ocean we are swimming in. And slowly but steadily they are coming right where we seem to be found for that wave. In all these hours and daytimes and night times we spent in water, we basically were so close to what was our environment that we learned from it. Could feel that the waves are changing during the daytime and during the nighttime. If we remember right, something with the moon was also pulling us up and letting us go. We were looking to see on the bottom of the sea to basically find something to hold on that we could swim with. And yet sometimes we actually don't know if we are still afloat or we are just in the water and our ears hear differently. First thing we hear constantly is our heart beating. And the less air there is, the much more of a beating we can hear. Something is going on. So do we see the bigger picture? And why do we not fit into this ocean? Why don't we just drink it all up and bring it somewhere else? But we should survive as that we consider to be ourselves. It is just a body, but in this huge amount of water, liquid, something that can't be catched, but contains a lot of things that catch each other. And then suddenly we just think of those beautiful meals we had at land, a restaurant, at home, dinner time. And we feel how we literally make water in our mouths. That makes us even more upset, because water is all we have, so why should we make more of it? So we put these thoughts aside and try to get off or out of the water. Yet there is no ship. The whales are gone, the dolphins swam away. And there is this waving situation on one side, On the other side, there is that big wave climbing, coming even further and further. Our hearing has changed. We hear some whales in the far distance, and we find ourselves definitely inside of the water. But yet we can feel the sun. How can that be? How can we over the water? Or are we in the water and the sun is coming from somewhere else? We find ourselves again in that struggle of thinking too much. And right in that moment, one horizon just arrived, and there is definitely nothing keeping us afloat anymore. It's actually like a spiral, and we are getting really hardly and intensely sucked down into the ocean. And there is nothing that we can hold on anymore. The last thing that we can barely see seems like a big mouse coming right toward us. It's big like a house, just the mouse itself, but there are no teeth. And yet it looks familiar, or it just did that second ago when we can remember it looked like the mouse of a bird. We are facing the situation where there is no more hope. And so, on the verge of extinction, there is just the other one opportunity, the opposite of that what keeps us down. But we see each other again in the light. So the time is not right yet to leave this realm, this planet. And so this dream that we are getting sucked in, suddenly we land at the empty space. It is dark, but it's warm. Can barely say if the things are moving or if they are just rock solid. But there is not only our heartbeat anymore. There is another one. Did we just get swallowed by a big shark? We actually don't really know if we are still awake or if we just fainted into somewhere else. And so we risk to open our eyes. We can see a light. It seems to create itself inside of that. Maybe we are in a belly. But there are no bones, so nothing got eaten, so it can't be a belly. Somehow we see that the water from the outside drops into this place, and then it's hard to tell, but that water gets separated into light and nothing. In that moment we can realize that we are breathing just like on land. How can that be? We were just in the water and there was no way out of that water, and yet we are breathing just easily as on land. We can feel that there is no hunger. We have no need to bite anything. Yet there is that light. And every time we have a desire or a wish, it seems like this light is absorbing this wish and sending us another light. And then we are happy. We are fed. In that moment we hear a voice. And now we understood. We are definitely in a belly, but not in a normal belly this time. The approach of today's animal is the way that we meet the owner tonight, but the owner of us all. So turtle swallowed us and kept us safe. And right in that moment, the turtle speaks with you inside of him. Treats you or her treat you like a cell, and yet she's not consuming you, but teaching you. She doesn't really need words for it, but she shows how it's done. And now you can realize again how beautiful, clean, yet empty this place is. So, is there a benefit of emptiness inside of you? And yet there is that light that supplies all around from that belly on. We see that water comes in like drops, millions of drops all the time. And at need or at wish, we don't really discern this. It just happens sometimes. That water drop gets put into pieces literally, and what comes out is like a little star that fuses together with that other star, the brighter one, the bigger one, that is maybe just as big as an eye. So it's a separation and a homecoming again, split seconds. We see that we can't go too close to this source because it's intense. Sometimes we feel like a little push. Don't come too close. We can feel it's a field that it's literally pushing us away. Or maybe not pushing us away, but holding like space for itself. Yet it's not an attack. It's just there. It just is. And so the turtle shares the deep knowledge, because this is not just any normal turtle. This is the turtle, the mother turtle, the ambassador of the planet itself. Turtle, great mother, feed my spirit, close my heart, that I may serve you too. In Native American teachings, turtle is the oldest symbol for planet Earth. It is the personification of goddess energy and the eternal mother from which our lives evolve. We are born of the womb of Earth, and to her soil our bodies will return. In honoring the earth, we are asked by Turtle to be mindful of the cycle of give and take, to give back to the mother as she has given to us. Turtle has a shell which is similar to the protection that Earth has employed for centuries as her body has been defiled. Mother Earth's protection has come in the form of Earth's changes. New plants grow, the creation of new land masses by volcanoes, and climate alterations. Like Turtle, you also have shields that protect you from hurt, envy, jealousy, and the unconsciousness of others. Turtle teaches you, through its habit patterns, how to use protection. If you're bothered by the actions or words of others, it is time to go inside yourself and honor your feelings. If you are attacked, it is time to give a warning snap. If you have chosen Turtle's symbol, you are being asked to honor the creative source within you, to be grounded to the earth, and to observe your situation with motherly compassion. Use the water and earth energies, which represent Turtle's two homes, to flow harmoniously with your situation and to place your feet firmly on the ground in a power stance. Turtle is a fine teacher of the art of grounding. You may even be able to overcome some of your space-catted tendencies if you align with Turtle medicine. In learning to ground, you're placing focus on your thoughts and actions and slowing to a pace that assures completion. Turtle warns of the dangers of pushing the river, as evidenced by the plodding pace it keeps. The corn that is harvested before it is time is not yet full. However, if it is given the chance to develop at its own rate, in its own season, its sweetness will be shared by all. Turtle buries its thoughts like its egg in the sand and allows the sun to hatch the little ones. This teaches you to develop your ideas before bringing them out into the light. Look at the old fable of the tortoise and the hare and decide for yourself whether or not you would like to align with Turtle. Bigger, stronger, and faster are not always the best ways to get to a goal. When you arrive, you may be asked where you have been and you may not be able to remember. In that case, arriving prematurely can make you feel very immature. If you face Turtle today, it augurs a time of connecting with the power of Earth and the Mother Goddess within. This is a reminder of the ally you have in Mother Earth. It does not matter what situation you have created. Ask for her assistance and abundance will follow. Just as you feel already almost good again, suddenly the situation just flips and you find yourself on the head because the turtle just made a 180-degree turn, so it's now upside down. With this other way of driving, the turtle wants you to tell you that Mother Earth is calling you to reconnect in some way. If you have become flippant and forgotten to place waste in its proper place, instead of throwing it out of the window car, she is calling. You have felt alone in your time of need, she is calling. If you have been struggling financially or have little to eat, or if you have desired a child and see no pregnancy in the near future, she is your medicine. Use it. You are not alone, ever. You are a child of Earth. All acts of pleasure, joy, and abundance are given by the Mother of the creative force. use her energy to aid you, and you will be healed enough to share this energy with others. The idea of a turtle helplessly trying to right itself after it has been flipped upside down can also symbolize contrary turtle. You are not a victim and you are not helpless, no matter how much it may seem like this is the case in your present situation. To right the ill-dignified turtle, you need only list the things you are grateful for, and from that grateful place in your heart, look for the abundance of alternatives that Mother Earth gave. So, as we remember the words of the turtle, we suddenly have this vision of being just with the turtle, or being as the turtle. So we put the turtle into space, and we see that he is also part of the whole, and yet as he goes inside, she goes inside, turtle is teaching us how to go inside. So now in this very moment, ask yourself, how much did you already dig into yourself? How much of an underground bunker? How big of a house? How beautiful of a scenery is there in that black emptiness that holds all the potentiality because it is empty? So we have a new situation. It's not full of water anymore, but empty of everything somehow. The world or the reality has completely changed, and yet we have seen in the belly of Mother Earth that it just needs light and nothing to make water. And so we see now this picture in a different way, because we have a light, and we have space, and we have water, a lot of water. And so how can it be that we are in midst of the deep ocean and are so afraid of ourselves? Because we are mainly water. How could we go so far out that we don't see or recognize each other anymore in the same? And yet from today we know there is always someone, something we don't know where it is, but it is from the inside, somehow seeing you, no matter where you go. So what if you go inside and the planet goes inside? Maybe we can meet each other in that inside space. Maybe we can connect and transfer and emit the light, the space, wherever we might go.
Andreas,
Yes?
this double voice is an effect or is an audio problem?
Okay, I try to. Should be better now, I hope.
I'm just trying to understand if you have some problem or it's just some kind of effect that you put in your voice.
No, should be no effect now. Okay, let me go on and we see if it goes better.
Yeah, you have a kind of echo.
All right. So what I want you to see now in this picture, that we might be sooner or later, or we have been once in that belly of our All-Mother. Even we can't really see or remember, but it makes sense that if it is her that built the car that we are driving every day, somehow we are coming from that factory.
Andreas,
Or at least the car is coming from.
we still have this double voice.
Okay, let me stop the video. Maybe it's because of that. Is it better now?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so to bring you out of the book or out of the story back to what we can learn or what we can discover in our reality. So I pull you out of the game right now. So we are still with or within the belly of the turtle. That's as far as we went so far. I would like to pull you out and show you a way of seeing things that are also discoverable through the eye you already possess. This connects also to the recent teachings from Mr. Kesh that there might be a state.
The double voice started again, Andreas.
Okay. So I'm just gonna play the video and then I talk after that.
Okay.
So what we are just seeing is a microcosm of that situation in the turtle. It is like a vacuum situation it behaves like it, but it doesn't need to be that vacuum, because a vacuum is always a way of seeing things. So when we dive deep into the water and understand that we are literally playing with light in the oxygen, and somehow through this connection we get that liquid solidified state, which is not really solid. And then this is basically that which contains us. So we don't feel at home in the ocean, but we are an ocean at land that we hopefully call our home. And so yet we have seen that at home, not everything goes all the time well. And in the case where we are drowning in a situation through our emotions, today we learned that there is always someone with open arms. And we might have never thought at her in that way, that she can and is able. She actually would love to shake hands with you at least. So you don't need to go into the deep ocean and have a hopeless situation. But anytime, next time you would have something cold like that, a dark moment, a situation that you can't avoid, now you know that the connection to the bigger picture is not on land. It can be on land, but the land is already within you. So ask yourself which organ gives the most. Which one is connected with everyone? Is there anything related just being a heart and then having a heart and then care for others or support an environment for others to literally express themselves in a smaller scale? Could you provide the environment? Do you know what is good for life? Because we just faced a situation where we thought we would be at home in water, but we're definitely not there at home that much. So do we have to let go and just die in the water? No, we have friends if we allow us to see them, if we are not afraid of them and already pushing them magnetically away. Sorry, there's 1 minute. I need to be right back. 1 second. So when we don't see ourselves feeling at home, or if we don't see the bigger picture of the moment, it's not in diving deep into the water, but it also is really diving deep into the water, into yourself. And we saw this magic place, that belly of the turtle, where it seems to be just beautiful to shine, and everything is already done. Doesn't need to be eaten. the human, the flesh that you are, because it is not here against you, but more so with you and for you. So judge yourself anew. Did you eat so many fishes in your lifetime that you earn now to be eaten from a shark or whatever animal is hungry? Or do you still have a heart in that situation? And if you do, you know that you have never been alone, but more so always connected. But you just didn't look, you didn't see. So who told you to be blind, to not hear, to not feel, to not share? Not your money on your bank account or your cake on the table, but you would do as her, as she does. Contribute, distribute, share, sometimes change everything. Yet somehow it seems that life can sustain itself. So why shouldn't you? It doesn't really need to be figured out how you can make it to the land. But in our case, it is the turtle that brings us closer to the shore. Because the turtle, Mother Earth, we all have a heart. So if you bring it, you can share it. So when you connect through your heart, it is that you connect yourself to a bigger picture. It was a very intense meeting, that inside of the turtle. There is no more fear, yet we can't let go of this beautiful feeling of that light, the source of the turtle, the love that drove the turtle to bring us back from the dead, to just keep us alive, and yet to share and add to your knowledge that maybe next time it's a whole different ball game. So as we were invited to see and to feel the source of the turtle, I invite you in this very moment to just close your eyes and figure what just do, don't think, just do, talk to your heart. Address her. Maybe with the best reflection of her. So you answer the call and you understand in just applying yourself as she does. This biggest friend, you can't bring it to the party. It is the location of the party all the time. It will be always there in one way or another. And so now when we very soon will go to land, can you be the guest that is welcomed and that is basically seeing himself as a part of that place? There is no peace, but there is no conflict. It just is as it does. And because everyone see him or herself in the other one, it seems like it's just working out fine. Whatever participants of your planet, you as a body, imagine you as to become as a planet yourself. Which country is itching? Who is not behaving? Which people on what side of the planet do this or do that? Could you already gather them again as a crew on one ship? Do you have to rule the many to please the one? Or can you make sense to the many to go as one? The heart is always in exchange, in giving and taking, and it can't ask, where are you coming from? Where do you want to go? Do you have permission to go there? It just does what it does. It gives and it receives. So can you call your home in your heart? Or do you like more into the bigger and higher apartments in the clouds? We have connected with so many different aspects of the element of water. It can be warm, it can be cold, it can be little, it can be much. Are we ready to transit as water on land? Can we contain our water as an ocean in the micro? How can we contain ourselves? Yet this might not be the first question that you ask yourself, because you're just happy to see land again. And that waving, it was literally a tree shaking in the wind. It makes you smile just for a second. You think you caught yourself there, or making yourself a fool about the situation. And yet you remember once more, humor is a very good feeling thing. Can you laugh about yourself? And how does your heart feel when you laugh about yourself? Can you cry so much that you cry rivers of tears of joy? And how is your heart dancing in that moment? Is it dancing or is it just still? So we usually forget that everything that happens emotionally during our day or during our night, somehow it is related to that center place which everything goes through. So your heart is basically the gatekeeper of all that goes through it. And so it allows and it receives constantly. It stays at the same, and yet it travels all the time. Ask yourself or ask your heart next time when you struggle with emotion. How would your heart deal with it? So in the mercy of Mother Earth, she sent her representing the flesh of a turtle to us that swallowed us like a huge train that is hungry, or like a bus that is just too big to run away or to swim away anymore. And yet we did not get eaten, and we remained so long that we don't really see or feel, but we can barely recognize that the mouth just opened again. And then we hear the waves breaching. We touch land again. We have solid ground. And we are so grateful that we made it so far. Because you just made it, there is nothing else to do anymore for today. So you roll yourself on the back. Of course, there are no other peoples, are there? But they are actually not of your concern. You're just so happy to grab something, to hold in. At least it feels dry. And we felt worn out. We remembered that when we were small, we called ourselves to become a grandfather or a grandmother when we were wading too long or swimming too long in the ocean. That's how we look now. We look like a sponge, and we just want to rest. Now we find ourselves that the water is calming us down. Water takes its respectful place and leaves us in peace. Or was it just us seeing it differently when we were in the middle of the ocean? We were seeing so many drops, and now we feel so many dots. Every single particle feels like something that we can hold on. And we can just recognize how much our body wants to go into the ground. As if you would have still taking this lesson very seriously from the turtle. You do thank the Mother Planet with the whole body. You connect as much as you can to the ground to be and to feel close to home. And the more you do this connection to the ground, the more you can feel that this center in you starts to intensify its work. It's not a work, it's a joy to do it. It's almost like a play. And so now we finally found peace after these many hours, literally in the surviving mode. It's not a war zone, but it was very life-threatening. And now it's totally opposite. Yet the owner is the same. You might think she has mercy. Do you? Did you receive what you were giving before? Or did you earn it to survive? The only thing that you feel now is that you are so happy to be on that beach, and you wouldn't care if you would fall into that beach because you have fallen worse. So when you remember what you were doing in the water, you recognize that you were just doing as in the water, still on the beach. You are breathing very deeply in because you don't know when the next wave is coming. And exactly this breathing to completely exhaust yourself inside with oxygen and waste your outside with relaxation. To keep calm, yet when you are dissolving into the beach. Would you give yourself up to become as sandy, as many as you are having on your back right now? To be a present to the planet as you see yourself as a part of this big picture. Yet you are not important because you could freely, deliberately choose to now become just like sand. Our training program is literally combined with doings of your own to make yourself anew. And I want you to really remember the waves that you were seeing when you were in the ocean, how you were receiving the feeling of being hit by a wave, how you made it through the wave, and yet you were just like a little something going up and down. So these waves, those up and downs, you can still feel them, yet there is solid ground. And so this is the first exercise. I want you to start practicing and to basically go with the player here on the beach. So we imitate the wave, that we have been in the wave, that we have been pushed away by the wave. But basically it means we invite now, like the turtle, ourselves, or we invite the wave, this time not water but more so air or the oxygen, and we breathe very deeply into the belly so that we build up literally a wave ourselves. And so this wave is mounting and rising as far as you can, and then the lungs get filled too. And so we have one big wave that just continues again after you start breathing out first from your belly, and all the water and all the oxygen gets through your lungs as well, and you're empty again. So you breathe deep into your stomach, to your belly, as you would feed the light in the turtle, because you would do like the turtle. And on the other side, what you are seeing is not really happening around you, but only you can really see or experiencing what is happening inside of you. So now you find yourself being as the wave, playing the water on the land side. And you can feel how that sand particles that you can see yourself as in that very moment get flooded and flushed with oxygen. There is more and more gap between every single sand particle of you, the more air comes into your body through the waves that you're breathing into the belly and into your lungs, and reverse it as it goes on. Now you know that through doing this, you can see that your heart is to your command, so you can basically lower your heart rate. You imitate the waves, and you don't care about the waves when the water gets mixed with the sand. And exactly in this image, you dissolve yourself and become part of a bigger entity, or just this beach, and you're all sand and some bubbles between the particles. Because you are so excited, Usually you would just fall asleep, but this is the first time you survived life. And yet it's hard to not be joyful at this moment because it feels very good to be alive. So you relax more and more, and you remember the story of the turtle that she brings her eggs to the sand to let the light wake them up. And so suddenly you have found yourself not as you with a body suddenly inside of you, but there is that place. And somehow you have also this flame inside. Maybe it's just too much for now, but that moment it is where you fall asleep. And for now it's just, again, the water that remains. So we are about to switch the scene. Now we will go to a very basic level of understanding. So if this is the landscape, or at least that piece of the cake that we are having to discover as one particle of the many of the sandbox, we find ourselves coming from that ship here. So we get dropped here, and finally today we made it over here. There are so many moments when I wish I basically could just give you one image and you would understand what I could tell you all about it. And so in case you see a certain image that looks like a combination of many, I want you to see with the eyes that I carry around. So this darkest picture here is what happened in the worst case scenario, or in the deepest state of the water. If you can't hold yourself, you basically go back home today we heard the story of the represent of our home, or at least what we all call home, for hopeful, a beautiful period of time. So it's not about going very much into the ground to ground yourself, but to see yourself in the many states of connections that we are already having within us. So in this moment where we have basically, here we have the element of water. The next here will be with the oxygen. So this is a fundamental change if you take it on that very edge of switching between life and death again in the water. So the oxygen is all what we wanted in the water, no matter what. That supply, or that state of being supplied from that element, was key to stay somewhere here on the surface, or to dive a little bit here in the water. But we all know when we oxidate too much, we go in a different state, which is not the home or the planet anymore. So what if we can now bring any of you, me, all of us, at that time where it needs to be, or where it can happen, when you allow yourself to make it happen, that you can understand that it is always like an exchange, and there is always the stability or solidified states are not your friends, literally. And so the exercise of the Sandman, of basically you letting go of what you hold so dear. Let me see if I can put that here on the landscape. So we have the water just crossed, and now we're here on that sandy place. And now we take everything here as the sand, put you here in red because you have a little sunburn already. The Sandman has a pose or a stance, if you will. This is a memory of you driving, or being at least passenger on the ship. And we will just come to that in a short moment. When was it the last time that maybe you spoke it out, that you would give yourself up for something or someone else? And what would be the benefit of that? Usually it's solely and only from the perspective of that person that sees that only way out. But how could I make you just enjoy to think you could become a beach? Or in the words of Mr. Cash, that you can call the field also a state of home. So we need to get, in some way or another, we need to apply our craft in a certain way or manner to get to understand or to actually feel what it means to feel home. if you have a broken leg or you have any kind of issues in your body, sometimes you wish not to be there. If you go too invasive, you can say, you know, someone went under my skin, or that went under my skin. It is that moment where I want you to, it's not exercise, but basically just apply yourself to the situation where you could change your recipe of existence from a solid state into a field state. And there is my favorite place, maybe there are others, but the beach is my favorite place to basically practice this field work. And so there is one slight issue we have this situation. You have 5 at least different parts of your body. So you have 2 legs, 2 arms, a head, and the torso, so 6. Do you already feel yourself as one that you can exercise to dissolve yourself as that oneness into many? Or are you already in pieces and then it's different or difficult or more a topic of relationships between all those different interests that they would give themselves up as well as you intended for everyone? So how can we make ourselves whole in that situation before we let go to become the field? When an insect dies, I think many of us have discovered that already. So if this is an insect, the wings, they stay as they are, but usually the legs and the arms of the insects, they get interconnected. And so I want you to basically connect your fingers or your hands together here. So fingers into fingers, all the 5s in between each other. And you cross just here the legs that you interconnect here. So that's like 2 axes or 2 connections of your limbs that are not part of your torso or of your head. And yet through the connection and then the placement of your body, I want you to basically melt as much as you can imagine in the emotional state. So if we would take the point of view, we have the soul. We have an environment, call it the brain. And then we have like a physicality. The point of the Sandman exercise is this. Let's make it red. This area in red is your physicality. And the white one would be your brain. And somewhere in that brain is that place where is no place or no space. So we try to go through different states of elements, if you will, to find the source or to connect to the beginning or to the end, as the set here came somehow in. I don't want to do that. Okay. So if this one, if the physicality here is always moving, if it becomes still, oh, that's something going on here. Okay. So the moment you basically can hold your physicality still, everything that, and we already know that in your physicality there is no stillness, there is always constant flow. So no matter what direction this goes, up and down, left and right, if you can make your physicality as a non-observational point of view, it's not that you don't take care of it, but it's literally that it's not your point of reference anymore. The next step will be your emotions in destroying, because the direction of the teachings is inwards. So basically to find your inner source, or your, call it your inner turtle, you need to pass this level here. And so as much oxygen we can fill through the breathing in here, the softer this flow becomes. It's not like this anymore, it's more like that. Because everything is already there that needs to be there. Remember, you are mainly water, so you need oxygen and light. So the more calm or relaxed you are, the more you can basically let go of your particles, or what you have as a feeling, as an emotion. You enter here and connect already as a field state. So you're not painting black and white, you are just part of that what goes. So you're swimming in the river again. So what we were doing here, we actually do here, and what we are doing here, we just do the right thing at the wrong place, but in a good way. So you don't need to go run like for 4 hours to achieve anything or to get somewhere. Of course, it might make you feel good, but in our way, we are basically doing not that much, or let's say nothing for that moment. We want to dissolve into sand. So first we need to know what is dissolving, or how we can still hold ourselves together when we are in pieces. That's basically the fear that we are still facing. If we can become the beach, how can we go back? Or if we can dissolve ourselves into a field state, what makes it so sure that you can recreate your craft or your body or your car of choice to be part of? So those insects, in the moment they are doing the crossing or the double cross, this is how they will feel their physical emotion in the body. So when you do this, you can train yourself to observe more what happens when you basically want to melt into one big of you, maybe one small of you. So this small one here, are you sure that it can't go here or here? So if this one here can go so fast that it's always around you as well, then you might see that the cloud or the field that is in the state of where we want to go is already part of the situation, also when you're doing nothing as a sandman. So through the connection now of a big belly, try to not touch your hands to the belly, so put them on the a little bit on top of your heart, but make yourself feel as comfortable as you can, because then the basically focus should be that you try to feel more intense, or let happen what does the feeling do with your body. So one indicator here would be that you would not, it would be hard to decide for you which hand is which. Is the right one that is going through the left one and comes out on the back side of the left hand? Is this the left hand now, or is it the right hand going through the left hand? So that you can't decide anymore which is left or which is right. So through becoming part of the atmosphere here, or of the field, or if you remember, if we go back to the map, just shortly, now we left the water, but we carry the water with us, and now we will face the element of air, or whatever it means to be part of the air cycle. So can you see that in many cases if we are this one here, we usually go outside to look for the answer, or the challenge, or the purpose, and so on. So what if already you are in that field, and you're also that you are looking for around you? It's just the other way around. So the matter is in the middle, and the soul is maybe also outside as well as inside. So therefore the solution here is not matter in the outside, but you are already the solution that is the manifestation as matter in the inside. So to see yourself from outside, literally, or to take care of yourself from an environmental perspective, but not in like a trend or in a movement, but as a state of existence. I have no idea how exactly the turtle belly looks like. But let's draw it like this. So let's say we have like a flame inside. I didn't say fire, I just said like a flame. So and there is no connection to the matter state here, because it's the not matter state. And between is the flow or the movement. And if this stops here, the outside, then there is irritation or stopping the movement also to the inside. So all the exchanges we are doing, call it through the breathing, but food, and whatever else you think you need to make part of yourself, which by definition it can't be, can just be part of you for a certain time. because we are now truthful to ourselves and we know that everything changes all the time. So holding on something is basically an illusion. So do we allow ourselves now to discover and also use the potential of being always in the flux state? And yet, how do you contain, or how can you basically remain as, call it a package, as one or as a unit? And how would that look like? So imagine the turtle would make from the water around him or her, he would make something like light and something. So if you take the turtle for too long outside, there are some that might survive, but basically their closest friend, their environment is the water. So ask yourself, which is your closest environment in your daily life? It's definitely not water, or not in that way we think now, because we walk through the air or on the floor or on the earth. But also we have the oxygen that we breathe, and somehow we end up as water, or mainly water and something. So now go to the trees and see what the tree is doing from this into that. How the fish is doing his transformation. Or what is he transforming? And then also go into the very small to see like a cell is functioning. And then just sit into that seat of Mother Earth and allow it to happen all over the place. Turtles can get very old. And so, what if food is not the solution for longevity? The more you use the environment to your liking, the more the environment uses you to their liking. Or if it is just an exchange of energy in the matter state, it is very hard and very slow. So, and if you can basically connect the light within you with the oxygen that comes from the outside, and you build your craft in the moment of every breath, and a little bit of preparation and departure time, if you will, but you're recreating all the time yourself. And so that spark maybe there's a state where there are all sparks. And so we find ourselves back at the beach, where we literally want to let ourselves want to let loose what holds together, and yet we trust that we are at home, so nothing can go wrong. So when we start to basically work in the ways that we understand each other, or at least ourselves, further and further, we can actually accept ourselves also in different states. So now the recipe to make you feel good is basically you just fill yourself with the oxygen. I make it blue now. And so you know that the more oxygen you have, the more connections you have as well with your field force, that spark that basically has a push, but it also has a call. So in the physical state, you are contained in that body or in that chassis, this shape or form. But you are also radiating. Maybe it's not in your belly, but you have this field, so you are already there where you want to go. And to make this a bit more efficient or short, it's not about putting stuff out that you don't like. The more you can put in or integrate, and I hope you can remember the story of the turtle that you were at least swallowed. To integrate what you are afraid of, or basically what is already part of you. But the more you can see yourself as part of the environment, the more you become home as a tourist. That short video clip I showed you about the sonoluminescence, so if you can gather the light from the outside, which is hidden in any or in many GAN states, building up your core, because that's where everything crosses or is going through. So you send the light back home, literally. And so your home becomes bigger, bigger, and bigger. In the moment you are traveling, you have to become small. The smaller the better. So you're not this anymore then, but just this. This goes very easy through many different fields or states. This has a lot of discussions here to do, because there are so many differences in that entity. Shweta from the One Planet, One Race teaching in the Tuesday afternoon called it once that I would practicing yoga by doing this, but I come from a different direction. But I understand, or I see now, that becoming the yoga, or what she was sharing with us, to become with the planet, or to see, to live yourself as part, and so therefore as a true human being as well, as it is basically intended for that driver to drive around. So it's not to basically end the situation, but more so join a bigger picture. And therefore, if you can become, again, with very simple words of becoming a servant to the bigger picture, or to the planet, at least here, then maybe you are much closer to an invitation to a different place as well. So the Sandman becomes the loosened state of the physicality, and we basically glue that loosened state with oxygen, which is not stable. And through that, we have the environment that you need to supply, or to keep yourself running, literally. And so the more confident and trust you can have here in your center, the more energy, or the more energetic your craft will also shine as a star, or as that spark. Depending on the state that you are actually experiencing in your life, you will be able to see more or less of that. But you to become as a particle of the planet is an experience of its own. So we need to go into the small as well into the large dimension. So now the smaller the car is that you would drive, if you would go into a racetrack that is inside of your body, the bigger would be the experiences. If the car would be as big as a shoe, it would be quite, I think, a hard experience. So who is so joyful to made it to the beach when there are many that you have to consider inside of you but one? There is this, when we usually went as children to the lakeside or whatever for swimming in the summer, usually, the kids were jumping inside the water and they were making this package move. So you hold basically your legs to your chest, and you be the package, so that bomb that goes into the water. I'm pretty sure if I can bring you to this experience of where you can see yourself but as a particle, you will see that there is much more to discover as part of the collection or the collective that you are already part of. So that unified entity that is driving you, is it driving for the planet and for your body, or is it also driving for the field? People will feel good when they basically are in that field. Because it's the same field as in the turtle belly inside. It looks a little bit like an enhancement unit already. I'm not sure if I didn't want to do that, but let's see how that goes. I'm actually very excited to, if you can show people, or if people can experience the situation or the field, this is a much more easy way to to get into that confident state of that what we have seen and explored in the last 3 years with Mr. Cash. But you can't become a part of the field when you want to hold dearly on that physical shape. So now you see that if you can stop the physicality of being your focus, maybe you're not really here in charge in that state, but you are part of a bigger thing. So maybe the emotions that are coming and are going, they're going through you. Maybe this is the same like the habit that we took from the deep ocean and we kept breathing on the beach. It's like a programming or like a habit that we inherited it by basically being part of a certain environment. Remember, we were laying on the beach and we felt like the ground was like going up and down, like we were still in the water. The more easy or the more unspecific the picture becomes, the better in many ways. Because I can't tell you how you should look like. You should be a drop or a sand corn, or if you should be a square. But maybe you can just complement everything and you might be over here. Or you might be over here. And just by thinking or by just feeling here or here, you will be there. So the relocation or the transportation of this is just a very human way of perceiving the transporting system, if you will. Let's say we have you here and an environment, and we want to ship you to another environment. So if you can see that when the environment is the same, whatever that means by now, environment, this one comes out here. So it becomes like a tube. Or like you have a door here and you have a door here. And we don't see how they are connected, but it's just a door on one side and another door on the other side. So what can basically travel in this tube? Is it the Sandman or is it the spark? Or maybe we are already talking about the spark of behaving as a wave. And therefore moving through itself and by itself. Or you are on the beach, parked like a car in the parking lot. Can you cross this out for 10 seconds? Let all the control tools, ideas, emotions go. They become even more beautiful outside. So who is making this picture here? Who sees that and this one? Do you need to see yourself transforming during this state, or are you just happy to be back in the suit? I would like to add tonight a certain language, that's how I call it. And for you to keep in mind, let's call it the sand language then. Or as you can see it here, I put it in Latin because I think language is very nice sometimes. So this means the language that goes inside. So how can you basically dissolve yourself or put you back into one piece and to resolve? This is the easiest or most abstract way that I could have put it together. And I want you to stay with me here for a moment to see the same in the difference. For me, it was very hard to carry around everything that happened and that I wanted to know and to understand. And so I find myself with a huge load of information on opinions or options and perspectives. And so how can we make peace with all that? How can we integrate the plus and the minus into something that makes still something beautiful, or something that we can that can be seen in what we call reality. So as in the beginning, I would like to just focus on this kind of pyramid situation here, less on the wording here. So everything around that kind of pyramid is change. So we have like a zero that is the beginning and a zero at the end. This is the same that I was drawing with the door at the one end, at the door at the other end. And everything between, I try to put into numbers because I also are kind of romantic with numbers sometimes. And there are many kind of numerology and numbers in many ways, but no numbers were really helping me. So I put the numbers into a way that was basically giving me an opportunity. So I try to bring you peace in the understanding that even if we are all one, everything might look different, but now we are not about judging or doing anything outside. This is just going within you. So you need to, or you could, my intention here is that you look at yourself as one. It's not looking only, but you already feel yourself as one. In the moment you have one left and one right side, there is not that oneness because you have two sides. So therefore the Sandman connecting to that unit or unification moment where your circulation basically gets more intense or more aligned, that you feel yourself more as a whole with a W. So in the moment where you can basically experience yourself as one, we know that we have usually to decide yes or no. So that duality is coming from outside of this oneness, and yet it is that one. So no matter how you look at the duality, from one side it looks like that one, and from the other side it looks another one. But it is from the manufacturer that only creates those units, that ones. So everything that we are building up here is containing itself, and yet it's building more than itself in a creative way, if you want to say. So your brain is basically this second story here. So you have a giving and a receiving. That what I called here as a trinity is what I see in a family. So there is a parent, a male and a female, and they have a child. So the child is exactly the same, whatever you call it, worth, or it's the same package. So we have to not only see it that way, but apply that knowledge. So your heart has two intakes and two outtakes, which is the center here as it connects actually the upper level and the levels below. So the senses is the number 5, which you have literally in your hands. To remember yourself, you have 5 connections to the reality. Maybe you have some 5 good ones and 5 bad ones, but you see again this duality, and also the level 5 with the senses is included in this oneness. The next story here is the energy, or what drives you. I could use the word with the X at the end, and then it's much more clear what it means. So what drives you to do or to think? So what is basically your sensation here that you're focusing on, or what is your cable connection, if you will, or what is your Wi-Fi signal that basically leads your energy or invites your energy? So the number 6 is just speaking for energy. If we do this in a harmonious way, everything above, then we come to that number 7, which is the harmonious state of your existence. When you achieve that, I bet most of us, they could just go infinite with this, because everything works as it is intended. And yet everything that we have is always in that change, or is basically rising and falling at the same time. So when we have this everything in the creation as an infinity, this also is in a permanent change. And so the number 9 is here. What we will discover during the process is that number that leads you back to the solution, which basically goes back to 1. So what I would like you to show you here is that okay, not this image here, but we come to this a bit later. So I want you to see this here as 0. So we have a 0 point A, and we have a 0 on point B. And now when you see, okay, we put Mark in here, or we put Peter in here, or Stefania in here. So we have the field state where we become many. And then we go back to that 1. Hopefully we can get that same 1 that we put in here. So there is much more space for how you call it, for experimentation, if you are not so stubborn to get exactly the same result that you put in. But in case of the people transportation system from point A to B over the Atlantic or something like that, we better have the right way how we can dissolve and basically put together again. So if we can understand that what I put here in the way I would like to share with you, the understanding of everything that lies in the nothing, everything here are the numbers 1 to 9. So either you have 0 in terms of this means exactly nothing, or you can see that this is the environment we are talking about for a couple of times now. And so you have this environment in this figure here, if you will, in your mind or in your brain. So you have the soul in between, and then you have the left and the right. So to approach your center, you need to fuse, not to separate. In so many ways, it's the cell process backwards. I think now we triggered a certain way of words of combination. If we can reverse aging, okay, we are all set, right? So there is no purpose for aging then, we have to ask, or what is it? I don't want to go into answering these questions because just depending on where you look at it, it might give you a different answer. But to understand that you could basically put yourself in one of these, either it's a particle or a bigger particle. So we need to have this unification, and then we can basically become the rider of the wave or surfing the wave. Or maybe we are going through a tube that we create by the light itself. So tonight before you go to bed, I would like you to ask yourself, how did you made it to the shoreline? Because as we know today, or by today, hopefully latest, that there is the light in the water. And the wave is already there, but it's doesn't look like it's a light ray. You all have seen those proofs that if you have a water particle here, that this goes just up and down. It never goes like this or like that. I always wonder how the scientific people, you know, how they can measure exactly this spot in the ocean. But anyways, I think there might be ways to figure that out. But in case, so imagine yourself, if you are here, as we were in the ocean, and you can just go up and down, then there would be no option in any way to go to the shore. But maybe if you have help, be it the turtle, be it the whale, or the dolphin that we have already met. So how can you make yourself switching or changing position from one wave to another? We are creating these waves by moving the arms. So swimming is creating wave. So can you create yourself into a wave? Or can you make yourself feel home as part or in that wave? I think you can now see that the situation where we are just swimming in the wet goes very deep, depending on how you look at it. So what can we learn from the water behaving as a drop or as a wave? Can we apply this knowledge and this from the turtle and fuse that into an understanding that helps us basically do all the three parts together? And can we make it as a family so everyone is treated and supplied and gets the same fair share? And so if you just imagine like this number one, every one of this is a sand corn on the beach, you have much more easy way to approach this situation. But in that moment, when every one of you is just a one, then you could basically disperse yourself over the beach. So how can you make them come back? That's why you need the O4 or the 0. Because we think that as long as we are in the matter state, we are the chief or in control. But while we are on the field, we are much more part of and not controlling. So we are allowed in a different or in a certain state. And so if we have just the soul as that one, or this part of the totality, but as the origin, like a stem cell where it can become everything that is needed or wants to become. You can see that the piece through it's not an implication, but it's a reference that you have between each of these here, like a separation that is arbitrary at once, but is basically for the creation. The existence or the experience in the state of this first level here, let's say we don't know 0, it's just a black spot or a black hole. And now we have the state of 1. If you could become anyone or anything, what would it be? Maybe you can't find just one answer tonight. But if you could choose between the good and the bad, the hero and the villain, which one would you be? And if you can follow me into this rabbit hole, do you accept, if you choose to be the hero here, that you have also to contain the villain inside yourself? So this confrontation between the good and the bad is what you are facing in the situation where you have to become just as one, in case there is need be. But one could be anyone or anything, like you pick the color, which is best. Be food or be human, which one you choose. But the next human you see as yourself. And so the bigger picture becomes very independent on one way and also interchangeable, but we are honoring each other as the same. So we know that not only humans have families, but all other living beings also tend to live in some family structures. Can we now blow this level of 3 to the whole planet and say, okay, those 3 things they need to be for everyone, and then we are set and we don't need to fight anymore? Or who is the parent in our, or who are the parents in our worldly situation when we have mostly men fighting against each other? So how can we solve the plus and the minus, the black and the white in the second level? That's where we are stuck here. because we have issues to basically do this correctly or not abuse each other. That's why everything below the two goes also a bit wrong. But we can see each other, or we can recognize each other as part of that planet. And so literally we all have a heart being here. We also have heads, but they do not matter that much because they are much more soft inside. So I hope to give you at least a reference of how you could develop your own way of how you can put yourself into pieces and put back together. This picture here on the right side is basically just what we have from the biological understanding by today, that a cell is basically splitting itself up into two, and then it grows out of itself, which makes no sense. Or at least it doesn't make sense in the way we are governed, or that we are kept dependent or consuming some stuff that basically doesn't allow us to see the light anymore. So can we go backwards, but in a good way? Can we reduce the things that we have developed that are too far gone in the system? Can we just allow all that is already in an easy and peaceful way? There is that saying that when we are in love, we are on cloud number 9, I think. So what does it mean when you are in that state, when you have fallen in love and you are feeling like being on that cloud? What would it mean if you would be the cloud, not on the cloud, but you would be part of that cloud? Could get carried away with the wind. But everything that you could connect or attach to would be temporary and very in a gentle and light way. And maybe this is just somehow related to the children playing in the sandbox. And we lost our way of how to play, actually. So Turtle will join us or keep us accompanied maybe during the night, but more so also in this beach there is that new life that comes out of the sand. So to bring yourself to peace or into pieces, to find peace, is meant to basically let yourself letting go of that things that don't serve you best anymore. So whatever construct it is, be it materialistic in the sense of body, or if it is a sense of control, or whatever kind of way of it has to be for you, look clearly into it. And if you imagine now all those little bars between everyone's one, so all those bars here, if that could be a mirror and show to the left one here that it is a 1, and it also shows that it is a 1 to this one here. So we have all the same basically showing themselves but what they want to put in. So you put here a soul in it, here. Or do you just think, no, this is what I call soul. This can be burnt. This burns on its own. Will never stop burning in this regard. Can you still accept when the truth hits you that you put so much time and energy into this when you already have everything here? Try to apply this pyramid of ones to see how far you go in the coherent system of yourself. Because in the best way, this makes sense here. And then this is something that maybe we don't need to understand completely, but we also see it as a reflection of us. And so we have also a trust situation, and then again it will just follow as it was intended. So now we put here your soul, we put here the emotion, and we put here your body. And this could be top and this could be bottom. So we have to flip it on 90 degrees. So for today, we basically made it to the shore, to the beach, to land. We survived. The first signal of hope was a wink of a tree that we could barely recognize. Then we literally sunk into the unknown. We got even covered by another tsunami. So business is done. Nobody could survive that. And we were never alone. Neither on the ship, nor first thing we went into the water. Now we know from the turtle that no matter where we are never alone. Because there are bigger things going on than just the you and the me. And so since we are now on the sand and we want to remain until next Monday on this beautiful beach, the time goes different in the game, I have to remember you. But for this week in our lives here, I would like you to try this at home. There is nothing, not really much that you can do wrong, but try to basically put yourself as a sand entity, or whatever picture or situation or emotion makes you feel or enjoyable to do so. Also relax in the way how the sand is basically crumbling down when it gets hit by a wave, if you have a sandberg or a sand castle. So every time the wave is coming over you, it basically makes you whole, but not as a human, but more as a beach. You become part of the planet, very static and very mobile in a small way. And so since we are laying on this beach, we have the eggs from the turtle somewhere either below us or somewhere near us. And remember what the turtle said. The sun is waking them up. Maybe someone is traveling into the eggs at beach. So why would that make sense? I would like to go shortly back to a short drawing situation. So on the left side here we have the water situation, and on the other side we have the land or the beach situation. Now question, why do the eggs get placed here and not here? Of course there are some biological explanations for that already. But now try to look again at the same question from a different angle or different point of view. If this here, everything that appears to be blue, is literally actually yellow and covered in something white. Okay, this looks now very much like an egg, but so if we have the light all over the place in the water, but we can't see it because it shows only in a reflection. So if we have the sun here, we have here like a fixed position, where fixed position is here due to the water already very difficult. So what does that mean to you? What is the egg, or what can be an egg? That is literally the potential of an environment to form out something out of itself. So let's say the soul is coming into those eggs at a certain time and place. Would it not be different or more difficult if you have to go through an ocean of light, basically collected in the oxygen light combination to make water? So to find here a certain point of destination would be much more difficult, I would say, because you have all the other lights here around, but part of the environment, which here we have a different combination of environment, and therefore this is the special place. So, and this special place is basically the ocean itself, but as another medium. So call it safety, call it heat, but maybe there is more intended to the light that goes into the egg or on the surface of the egg to wake the children up. So can you see yourself in this here? And how are we transforming if we go into this here? When we don't have the same environment anymore? Or what would be if we always have the same environment? We just don't see it. So when we're always feeding ourselves from the always or many directions, so it's only the many that goes into one, and vice versa. Maybe you can see yourself as 130 billion cells. So then it's the many and the few come in and the few go out. But nevertheless, if that means that basically the many, and we know how many GANs particles we can gather in a jar, there are many, many, many more GANs particles than dust on the floor in that jar. So how we perceive enough, or the situation that we need to sustain ourselves, can we hold that by ourselves? Can we see, or can we start to see that here is one, and then could be another of these borders, and then is another one? I hope to share with you to the end here a bit more vivid picture, and it's also much more beautiful drawn. Actually not drawn, but I hope it comes in here. Yes. So the other day I was watching very closely into my coffee cup, and so if we go now deeper and deeper, we see that they look all very much the same. And if we watch very closely, we can also see the reflection in every one of these. Some have some slight color changes, but this white spot in the lower middle, we could say, that is a reflection of a pillow through the glass into the bubble. So what do you see in here? Do we just see oxygen in a coffee? Or do we see here the same but different? Or do we see just one, and this is bubble or bubbly, and yet we see the many? How did they organize to stay so peaceful and yet so beautiful? What is their purpose of reflecting? Imagine you have to draw this by hand. So if we would change the color of this painting here, of this photo, maybe we could see ourselves as a collection of stem cells, the original bubble, the primal matter, the basic tool, the Lego brick or Lego brick, or just that bubble or that oxygen that holds space for something to arrive or be taken care of in the inside. So the situation when you are in one of these bubbles and I'm in another bubble, but we're in the same coffee, we are facing the same reflection from the creator that is basically putting the coffee into that situation. So do you need to be now the biggest of these, or can you get just quite fine along when you're one of the small ones? Which one remains longer alive, the small one or the bigger ones? In fact, they are fusing from time to time, so the small go into the bigger one. And do they have light in them or not? We can see the reflection. So is it then also a projection? So is there consciousness in the state of the oxygen here, right in front of us? Or is it just a random or a certain way of life as a bubble, but just in an elemental way, no understanding, no intelligence, no emotion there? So before you put yourself into pieces, and I mean this literally, don't hurt yourself, but try to find a way how you could arrange or organize yourself as a crowd. Start thinking as containing yourself in some way or another, crowd controlling, or basically how would you lead your team? Or does the team just do the work without you saying anything? So where does the trust comes from? From which is the stem cell? Which is one that knows to tell the others? Or do you see the potential to do anything in everyone in any of these bubbles? Because of the definition of the stem cell, if one of these or every one of these would be just a stem cell, they could become whatever cell they would be needed in certain parts of the world or of your body. So we have today scratched a bit the surface, and usually we use sand to clean cars, rip them off of an old color, put a new, so we brush them with sand. So sand can be very harsh. It's very much the opposite of the water situation that we had just recently. So do you need to become harsh as well when you become a sandman, or can you still be soft? Is your confidence depending on your hardness, the trust of your containment, the joy that you experience when you become aware what's going on, that you're literally holding a bomb inside of you, if you will? It's quite some energy that Mr. Cash referred to, that we hold inside of ourselves. He was referring that in the moment that we depart, there is a lot of energy going loose. So now imagine that we have a door in one of these bubbles and a door in another bubble. Or maybe we have in every bubble a door. And through that you could put something in and give out. But if you do one, you have to do the other one too. there is no not speaking here. I hope that I can share with you and bring you some awareness in that moment when you literally try to find the society within you, or how you basically can go with your society somewhere else. But it starts first with you seeing here something very specific. If you can see here the one, then you can see that there is much more to do than if you would say here every one of these has to become number 7. Everyone has to look like a 5. Numbers are not only helpful in our lives, we also have emotional charges, if you will, with numbers from the education system. So one hint, if you manage to separate yourself, you will basically have a very vivid dream. Or maybe then you're already in a different state. You passed already the 9 or went through the 0. You have to decide how the numbers and also the letters speak to you, but don't let them speak just by themselves. Let them speak also in a relation to each other, to see the bigger picture. So I see that the time is going very, very fast. It's almost 9. In this regard, I would like to ask Danilo if he's still with us. To basically, he told me that he has an experience that he would like to share with us, and it's very much about that we just talked about. So Danilo, would you like to share with us what happened?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes.
You know, you are on your dream and you realize that you are flying. So you realize that you are in a dream, but only you know that you are in a dream world, that you can fly. I have I had a lot of time this experience in my dream that I am flying, but only I can fly. The other people, they don't know that they are in my dream. So they keep their life as normal, and they see me flying, they are scared. And one day I was teaching a couple of guys how to fly in my dream. And it makes me wonder, what if we what if we are in a dream here right now, somebody's dream, you know, when you see something supernatural, something so different from the reality, why don't you realize that you are dreaming right now? When you see a ghost, when you see a UFO, when you see something special, you know. uh, and later on, I met a woman on YouTube, and she taught me a technique to fly. Just put your hands close to your body and go up. And later, I start to use this technique in my dream, and I start to enhance my flying. And funny, the funny stuff is that I learned this on physicality, and I brought this to my dream. And the other day, I was using my soul as a skateboard, and I was hanging around, making some tricks, and then I switched something in my soul to go to the next level, next order of magnitude of speed. So suddenly my skateboard, I was on this, I was, I was having the speed of a skateboard. So suddenly I switched something, and in 1 second I was in the outer space. The speed was very, very, very high. So we know how to do it. It's like something natural, but I don't know, man. I was, what's the difference between your situations that you put yourself during your dream state and your life? Your life is just a repetitive dream. Keep going on the same dream every day. Like is a mini life. You know, mini reincarnation. And I have answers. I only have questions.
Okay, so thank you, Danilo, for sharing. I just learned, thanks to you, a little bit more about myself to make this out in the open. What did stick with me now with your message was basically that you learned to bring from your, call it real life or matter state, into the non-matter state when you sleep. So you basically integrate from the matter state into the dream state. So as far as I know a certain part of myself, it was always the other way around. You know that famous speech for Martin Luther King, I have a dream. So when I heard this, I thought he had a dream in the night. So now he wants to bring this dream into that reality. So I never took it the other way around. But I think it's quite an interesting point of reference because, you are right. I mean, it depends on how you look at it. But if the day is a dream and the night is a dream, then you're basically able to switch places or, learn from one place and bring it into the other. So for me, this was always like judgmental that I had put myself into, that I said, okay, if I dreamt about it, it must have been good and I had to remember and stuff. So that you basically add to it or that you combine or fuse them together is very much of this, the teaching that we have here as the Mozhan program to share with you. So how do you wake up, or how do you basically make more of the one world if you discover there are many but one? And can you still accept to be part of that one, and then it can be peaceful? Or do we have to basically keep up your walls and have to be separate? Can you go into a super bubble here, if you like, as one of these small ones, or do you resist to to go with this stream or with the flow of the field. So thank you for
Can
letting
I
me
add
know
something?
that. Of course, please.
Uh, I told you about my dream. I want to share with the guys here. Can I draw something in the whiteboard?
Yes, please.
So, I don't know if I tell the full history or just the dream. What do you say, Andreas? The dream of the mirror or the history in my house with the cats? I don't want to take so much time. Uh, okay. I was in my dream. So three knowledge seekers came to me and they told me, "Do you want to see a teleportation device?" And I said, "Of course." And they took a round mirror like this and they put on the ground. And this round mirror started to project an image of a sunset. So beautiful sun, like a hologram. And when I look into this sun, I start to feel so much love, so much love, unconditional love. And it was amazing. It's like, oh, now I know what is love is about. I never knew love. It was only words, but this is the true love. This is the real meaning of love. It was the biggest love of my life. And they and I start to feel so good and so much love. And they told me, don't go through your mind. Don't go through your mind. Only feel. And then I changed my location. Suddenly I was in another place seeing the sunset. And they told me, if you go through your mind, you're gonna fail. Don't go through your mind. So the other day, when you have this window between the awakening state and the dream world, I was aware about my emotion and that my emotion that I was about to travel higher than the speed of light, traveling through my emotions to create these quote unquote random situations in your dream. It's all about your emotions and you travel there higher than the speed of light. And I get scared. I realized that I was about to travel so fast because of my emotions. The place I want to live because is a magnet. So I realized this that sometimes you don't realize the process, but I think that's the process. You travel through your emotions and you create these situations that seems like random, but it's all about your emotions. So thank you guys. I just want to share this.
Thank you, Danilo. Is there anyone else who would like to add to the session tonight, or is there a question that arises? So if not, I send you into the fields And I hope you enjoy tonight again this full moon situation from of today. Was in many ways intense, and you can now have like a peaceful experience, or at least that situation where you lay yourself to rest at the beach. Maybe you can find some calming white noise or water wave situation, the internet, to basically bring you closer to that place where you're building literally your home. So we are going to keep focusing on that, because we go traveling through the many places in the next couple of weeks. And so for us to get comfortable with the situation of changing position or places in space and time, we need to go and actually trust ourselves enough to, in case, let go, to travel to or through a keyhole if need be. So thank you very much for all joining us here, being with us here right now, and being part of this peace movement and the discovery of our all potential in the inside as well in the outside. And I wish to bring you some tools and understandings to accelerate this process as need be. And we will see how much is needed, or how much time we spend together to bring anyone, or at least one of us, there where we all are aiming for, the space, the dream of many people on this planet, and the dimensions that are peaceful, and they are waiting for us. Thank you all for coming, and I hope to see you again a couple next weeks. So I wish you all a good night. Thank you all.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Good night.
Vielen Dank, Andreas.